Danny watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Danny and John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Hello again. And you know what I was thinking? If someone tuned in to the show, and was like, "Oh, let me try it," and they went to one and heard this exchange that we do every time, and then it's like, "Let me try another episode." They'd hear the same thing every single time, and it's us basically being idiots and we don't know how to intro the show.
Yeah,
I know, but I feel weird if it was like this, scripted. Here we are. That would be really weird.
I think we should just try the scripted and see how bad it sounds.
Okay.
So next week.
Okay. So welcome to Watching My Stories. I'm Danny.
And I'm John.
And we're going to get into it.
Okay.
That sounds good. So I don't have many movies this week. We're going to rush through that. I'm going to rush through just a few TV shows that I want to talk about. And then this is the week of Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. And so instead of doing an actor's corner, we decided to rank in the same fashion romantic comedies. So
and this
was
tough. And
I'm still having regrets and things popping into my head that I completely didn't list. And
what's our mantra? No regrets.
Oh no. Well, you're welcome. Okay, so we're gonna get going.
Oh man.
Okay, movies first. The first and really only movie new movie I watched this week was First Man.
Yes. Yeah.
So everyone knows this is Ryan Gosling, and Claire Foy plays Mrs. Armstrong. What was her name? Shoot. And Ryan Gosling plays Neil Armstrong. Damien Chazelle directed this. And so when all the nominations and stuff were coming out, I kept thinking, why is this movie not being included? I hadn't seen it yet, but I just kind of thought, his previous movies were always nominated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was a little taken aback by that this was being left out for some reason. Claire Foy, of course, has been nominated and has won. But I was just surprised. So I watched it. And here's the thing. There's two things, I kind of had to separate my thoughts on this. One was that, the technical side of it. So the showing of of him, Neil Armstrong in the beginning being a pilot and then testing in the astronaut thing. And then, all the work that went into getting these missions ready. Even the whole mission itself and watching all that was absolutely amazing and really well done, and really put me back to watching Apollo 13 and also put me back to, I can't watch any sort of space exploration without just crying the whole time. I don't know what it is. It's truly awestruck when I watch anything that puts me in that place. And this does an amazing job. The sounds that they used, when during the Gemini missions and the sounds of the creaking what?
Nothing. Sorry.
The sound of the creaking metal and the wind was something that I had never seen before in a movie, so they seemed to, it was scary. I don't think I was breathing, let alone I can't imagine Neil Armstrong actually breathing, thinking this thing's going to fly apart. So all of that was really well done. The whole the astronaut space exploration stuff was really well done.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The other side of it is the story. And that's where I think it fell down. And I think that's why it's not getting the nominations. It makes, I came out of this going, Neil Armstrong is kind of a jerk, but I don't think he was. And I think they were trying to tell us he wasn't, but they never really made that point. You know what I mean? I think he was a really upstanding guy. I think he was a workhorse. They kind of started out with when they lost their daughter in the beginning of the movie. Their little girl, she had to have been 1 or 2. I don't really know. She died, and that sent him he kind of just shut down at that point. And that this was all before he went to NASA and everything. So he just kind of forced himself to work, and he stepped away from his other children and his wife emotionally, just kind of cut himself off. And so you watch this kind of going, okay, I get it. He's hurting. So that's why he's being distant and being this way. But that never goes away. And maybe that's the truth. Again, I don't know. I would love to read books about this and find out if he was truly this way. But it was kind of like you were expecting him, especially after going to the moon, you were expecting him to come back and be like, okay, I have perspective on everything now, you know. And there's a little moment at the end, but it wasn't a big enough moment for me to sit there and be like, oh, okay, so everything's going to be good now. So I don't know. I don't know and they kind of cut it off after that. That was it. It was truly about this mission, him getting to the moon, and then there was nothing else about the rest of his life. It felt like, you know, we're so used to characters having an arc. That's the point of these movies, is they have to change. That's what we like to see. And so maybe that's just my problem, is that I'm hung up on that, and I wanted to see him change. And he didn't. And so maybe that's my issue. But it just felt a little, the story part of his life felt a little disjointed. And maybe that's how it was during that time. I don't know. But the other stuff, like, I'm really excited for you to see it, because it was really, there's a lot to talk about how I can't believe this was actually never done before. This story of actually the first man, them going to the moon. Like, I can't believe that was never done before. You know what I mean? Because it's a bigger deal than
in a movie,
else.
in an actual
movie. Yeah. So it's one of those things, and I think it's important for people to see and remember how dangerous this is, what a big deal it is, how much money we need to do it. We need to go back to the moon. We need to keep exploring. And that's what I hope these sorts of movies continue to do and remind people of, because it's just, truly is just an awesome experience to watch whoever did it. And Damien did and that was the other thing. So he did, you know, of course he did La La Land, and he did, what was the one before that with the drummer Miles Teller and JK?
No idea.
Oh,
sorry.
It's right on the tip of my tongue. So he had never really done something like this before. Now his movies are always really good to look at, but I was a little like, is he really going to be able to pull off like the CGI stuff and like the real kind of action stuff that he's never, and intensity that he's never had before? And yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed those scenes. It was really well done.
Good.
Good with, you know, the sounds and the silences where they needed to be. So yeah, I really liked it. I'm giving it 3.5 stars just because that story part was missing a bit, but I also really look forward to watching it again, and maybe that'll change for me. You know, viewing number 2 is always different.
Sure.
So,
well, okay. So this brings up something I've been thinking about. You know, there are certain, I think, genres or niches of movie where the story, like if it's about real life events, retelling of a real life thing, there are a lot of movies that I think miss the mark because they spend so much time on the interpersonal story. And if they just there's the studio dog. If they just focused on the event.
Hold on, please. Sorry. Oh, I'm in the way. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Be careful. Okay.
What's up, holler dog?
That was my fault. I was in the way. Yeah.
Well, it's
That's
okay.
loud. That's loud.
Hey, come here.
Very loud.
Come here.
Okay, bye.
See you later.
So sorry, everyone. Woo.
If we don't edit that out, I wonder how that's going to sound.
Yeah.
So
you're saying you don't like the character stories.
Well, this
you
is
want just
so.
the action.
This sounds like you had the problem was in the same area that, as an example, Operation or Project Blue Book is for me right now. The History Channel series that I'm watching. If they just talked about the UFOs and the process of what they went through and that sort of thing, that's the good part of the show. But now they're bringing in this all the interpersonal stuff, and that's where it just kind of loses me.
Okay.
You know, and
So
I'm
most
not.
people are the opposite.
I understand. Well,
But I understand what you're saying in that I think that's where a little bit of my confusion is, because look, we could do just the right stuff again, right? And we could just watch the guys in training and building the program. We've seen that. I think they were trying to tell us, to give us a personal look at a man that we don't know personally, right?
Sure.
Which I understand, but it was such a snippet of his life that can't tell a full story, and they were putting so much on the daughter dying, which I understand changes a person, but it was just it just wasn't the book that it's based on, I guess he did, a ton of research and talked to the family members and all that sort of stuff. It's not that it's not an accurate telling, it's just
sometimes
I was just confused.
Sometimes they're so accurate they're not entertaining. You can strive for authenticity, and sometimes that story just isn't that compelling. Where if you introduce just a little bit of artistic license, it can be a lot better, but you don't necessarily have to focus on the interpersonal stuff.
Well, I think you do. I think people want to relate to the people. If you can't relate to them on some level, then you really, it's hard to follow.
Sure, I'm not.
But it doesn't have to be big, and I'm just going to compare it to Apollo 13 simply because of the subject matter. But we saw little bits of whatever his face was, Tom Hanks's character, with his family. Mm-hmm. But we already knew what that connection was, maybe in a 5-minute portion. Mm-hmm. We knew very little about the others, but we did see Bill Paxton with his pregnant wife and all those kids. So we cared about him instantly because we knew he had this wife and kids. Mm-hmm. Kevin Bacon's character was this bachelor. So you kind of have this little connection there. Like, we didn't need to know a whole lot. You can create that interpersonal story, or you can make someone care for a character with not a lot. Mm-hmm. But this was supposed to be more about him than the mission. This movie was about its first man. It's about him, not about all the missions that he did and being being on the moon.
Oh, okay. I assumed that it was about him being the event, him being the first man on the moon.
Right.
Okay. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Then that's really tricky then, because if the guy's a jerk in real life,
I don't know that he was.
I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying if a person is a jerk in real life and you're striving for authenticity, then it's going to be kind of an uneven story because the guy's a jerk. It sounds to me like what happened, or the outcome is, if he was a jerk in real life, this movie didn't really do much to disprove that. And if he wasn't a jerk in real life, it's made you question whether he was.
And I don't really care if he was or not. That's not what a difference does it make to me. And I think that we're kind of getting closer to being on the same path here, is that, they gave us a lot about the missions, about building everything up to getting on the moon. They gave us a lot of that backstory, and I liked that a lot. Mm-hmm. It just was hard to watch a man that was so kind of disconnected from his family during all of this too, because he could die at any point. And it was kind of like, they made it appear that he could care less if his family had to go on without him. But then again, when other astronauts would die, it would wreck him. So I think he was just that kind of man that could not express himself. Mm-hmm. And especially with dealing with his own deaths and then all these friends dying around and stuff, it was like, it was so much for him to take, but then he also couldn't accept. Like, at one point he left a party because someone died, and this other astronaut came to find him at his house and said, hey, we were all looking for you, or something like that. And he's like, do I look like I want to talk to anyone right now? And the other guy's like, well, we just didn't know where you went. And he's like, do you think I left that party and came here to be alone because I want to talk to you right now? And it was just like this, such an abrupt, response from someone, and he's just that. I'm assuming he's just that kind of person. Like, he was feeling really deeply, but he is not going to talk to anyone about it. He just needed to get away. But you also, it's hard to have sympathy. Look, he's a hero. I totally admire what he did, but, you know, where are his kids now and what do they think? Maybe he did come back around. And again, this movie just cuts that off.
Well,
and once he wasn't working anymore, he was like, oh, I have a family and I'm going to participate in their lives now.
Sure.
You know, we don't know.
Yeah.
Well, people know, but
not every hero in history was a nice guy.
Right.
Sure. And that's fine. But if you're going to make a movie about it, it's much more enjoyable to the viewer. We want to see people be nice. We want to see good people. We want
heroes,
to
yeah.
be entertained and
Right.
that sort of thing. And if the guy was a dick in real life and you portray him as that, we're
Right.
going to be like, well, the CGI was good.
right. And that's exactly where I am. You have to separate it for me. Yeah.
That was my whole point.
Yeah.
Is if the guy's a jerk, don't necessarily focus on that.
Well, they were not trying to say he was a jerk. They were saying he had been through so much and he still managed to pull off these miracles of science and do it well. And he was an amazing pilot. I mean, they show him in very perilous situations, whether it was just in a plane, whether his first mission, he was in a lot of trouble. Like, he was an amazing pilot, really could think fast, so good at what he was doing. So it's, you know, you have to kind of separate that. But yeah, I understand. Like, even just in that moment in Hidden Figures when John Glenn, you know, is coming through and they want to stop the astronauts from going to the black employees and talking to them. And John Glenn says, no, I'm going to go talk to them. And you know, you just have this little tingle in your heart of like, we knew we loved John Glenn, you know,
even if that didn't happen in real life.
Right. But we know it did. And we know he fully, you know,
John Glenn is widely accepted as one of the nicest guys
Right.
in history.
And
that's great.
He relied on Katherine Johnson, who just had her 100th birthday yesterday. So happy birthday.
Well,
Katherine
happy
Johnson.
birthday,
Yes.
Miss Johnson.
Yes.
Well, you know, the factory man, you know my opinion.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm
we're
not
talking
shocked.
too much about this.
Well, it's the only thing you got to talk about.
No, I've got a lot more.
Oh, I thought you... Okay, sorry. I'm just going to be quiet now.
I appreciate it. I just, you know, I do want you to see it. I think you will enjoy it. And then maybe this conversation will be a little different.
Well,
so.
it's Ryan Gosling, so I'm going to enjoy it. And it's aerospace, so I'm going to enjoy it.
Exactly.
For those of you that don't know, by day, I'm in aerospace. By day.
Yes. Okay, so 3.5 stars, First Man. It's definitely worth watching. I don't want people to think it's not. It's definitely worth watching. I think everyone should see it. Okay, next, quickly. I had already talked about this before, but now John saw it, the movie A House with a Clock in Its Walls with Jack Black and Kate Blanchett. Mm-hmm. I gave it 3.5 stars back then. What did you think?
It's easily 3.5 stars. I would probably almost give it 4. I enjoyed it so much more than I thought I would. And it just continues to reinforce my belief that Jack Black is a really underestimated and underappreciated actor.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think he is, though. I think you don't realize how much people appreciate him.
He's not one of those that you talk about a lot, though, unless he's in the news or his movie has just come out. You know, I mean, we can talk about Ryan Gosling or Tom Hanks or any of those people. And look, he's probably not in the same conversation as a Tom Hanks, but he's really, really good.
But I don't know about that because I was actually just this morning flipping around the channels and Sex Tape was on, and I changed it to that.
Yeah.
And it was his scene when they had, you know, busted into his thing. And again, that little speech he gives and his little 5-minute scene that he has gives everything heart, puts, you know, it's the whole point of the movie that puts back on this couple. What are they doing and why are they doing it? And I had that thought of just, I don't know that anyone else could have delivered. And of course people could have, but it's just, he has this earnest appeal to him where whatever he's doing, even when it's over the top, it's still, there's an honesty to it. You know what?
That's the thing. This is the thing. Even when he's over the top. So like when a Jim Carrey is over the top or somebody like that is over the top,
I don't want to get
it really
into
annoys me. But when he's over the top, it's still, it doesn't annoy me. It's still good.
Yeah. And it's two completely different over the tops though. So to me, I don't think they can be compared. But anyway, back to the movie.
I'm not the movie snob you are, I guess.
Yeah, back to the movie. So yeah, him, Kate Blanchett, the kid was so good too.
The kid was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for what I thought was going to be a kids movie, was really kind of intense and smart.
Yeah.
And this was my second time seeing it, so I was completely into it just as much. I'm really thrilled with it.
Yeah, and for a good versus evil story, it was really entertaining. It was original.
Yeah, well, it's based on a book. Mm-hmm. I'm sure the book's fantastic. People never think that the movie does a book justice. I get that. But I thought it was colorful and it had heart and it was funny.
And if you had told me that a movie where the two leads were Cate Blanchett,
right,
and Jack Black,
right,
that the chemistry would have been really, really good, I would have been like, okay,
yeah.
But man, they just work. They are so well together.
They do.
Yeah.
And the dog lounge chair, what do you call that, lazy boy or whatever, the house is alive basically, and they have this little dog chair. I don't know how
the recliner is
a dog,
has a persona of a dog.
So
it was cute.
It's really it's something that the whole family can watch and actually enjoy it.
So I've never understood a lot of parents who say, oh, my kid's not old enough to watch that.
Right.
I've been like, okay, they're probably seeing worse stuff on commercial television that you're not paying attention to. This movie, I can kind of understand having an age limit because the intensity. There is some stuff it's not scary.
No, it's a little dark because of the wizard. It is a little dark. Wizardry stuff.
That's kind of what I'm getting. What I'm saying is it's a little dark, and you probably want your kids to be old enough to understand some things before they see this, because it could be confusing and really scary for them. But yeah, it's really good for the whole family. It was entertaining for 8 to 10 year olds and entertaining for 50-year-olds. So,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Good.
Okay. Next thing, now we're going to move on to TV. Next thing is we watched a comedy special on Netflix, Ray Romano's comedy special called Right Here, Around the Corner. I started watching this earlier in the week, and like 10 or 15 minutes into it, maybe not even, I ended up turning it off for some reason, but I was really enjoying it. So last night we were looking for something to watch, and I said, well, why don't we do this? It was enjoyable. And here's the thing. I've never seen an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. I actually did not I genuinely did not like Ray Romano back then. Mm-hmm. And I told you this yesterday. Once his sitcom stopped and he started doing other things, like Men of a Certain Age, and then he was on Parenthood and Vinyl, and there's been a few things here and there in between. I've really liked him since then. Mm-hmm. So that's why I gave this a shot. I think if this, again, were 20 years ago, I would have been like, no way. Mm-hmm. But it was funny.
Oh my God, it was funny.
It was really funny.
It was so much more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Again, another surprise.
Yeah, and it was a very different special in that he went to the Comedy Cellar and he did like a 15-minute set or something. I honestly don't know, 15 or 20. Mm-hmm. And then he took the cameras and walked around the corner to the Village Underground, and he walked on stage and did another set. So these were kind of like, they were supposed to be like cold crowds. No one knew he was showing up. We don't know if that's actually true or not. And him just kind of being in a comedy club and doing his special versus being in some big theater and stuff like most people do. Mm-hmm. So that was also kind of nice. Mm-hmm. But he talks a lot about, of course, his family, his wife and his kids. His wife
is a very patient woman.
Yeah, but that's where the TV show came from. It was that his comedy was all based on that. Yep. And so that's still funny because now he's looking at it from a different age and things that happen to his body and things that are going on, and it's all just really funny.
Yeah, he's you see a lot of older comedians now talk about the changes in their body, right? And his take on it was actually one of the more entertaining ones I've heard. And just, the several minutes he spends on, talking about, stuff falling and dropping and, racing each other to the floor. Yeah. It's really entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw maybe a grand total of 10 minutes of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah.
Wasn't a huge fan either. I don't think I disliked him as much as you did, but I didn't really, he wasn't one of, you asked me who my favorite comedians are. He's way down the list. But this was so much different than anything I've ever seen him in, and him using profanity like that was a departure from anything I've seen him in. I didn't see Vinyl. It's on HBO, so I'm assuming there was language, and he said he had a sex scene in that, which I don't know how I feel about that.
But saw his butt.
Yeah, I guess. There are probably some men in the world I wouldn't be turned off to watching a sex scene. Not that I want to see it, but I think I'd cringe a little bit watching Ray Romano. But no offense to Ray. Yeah, not sure where I was going with that. But this was so much different than anything I'd seen him do or heard of him doing, and it was just really entertaining. Yeah.
I mean, he says it's been 23 years since his last comedy special, so I really liked seeing him come back, and there were a lot of funny things in there, so it's worth checking out. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, you won't be disappointed. Yeah, even if you don't really care for him, I think you'll like it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is, if he hadn't been in these shows that I really liked. And I really liked him on Parenthood. Like, I actually wanted him to be on there forever, and I wanted her to end up with him and all that, and it didn't happen. But so that's how much I actually have turned and really liked him. But it's worth it. So yeah, Ray Romano on Netflix. Check it out.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff.
Next couple I'm going to just talk about real quickly. First is a reality show on, or an unscripted show really, on A&E called Many Sides of Jane. It's about Jane, who has dissociative identity disorder, which people know as like split personalities. So they tell over 9 personalities in her. We know 10, I guess. And it's just a very interesting, she's 28 years old. She has 2 little boys that she's raising, and it's just, they've done a really good job. I think there's been 4 episodes so far, and they're really trying to, open up people's images, because obviously, like, from Split or Glass and back to Sybil, and one of my favorite shows was United States of Terror with Toni Collette. She's saying basically how Hollywood doesn't represent DID very well. And in the beginning, they say there's like 3 million people in the world with DID, which stems from trauma, childhood trauma. And it's your brain that basically takes this trauma when you say, I can't deal with this. Your brain will kind of take care of you and cover up with all these other personalities that will take on the stress and anxiety and memories and different things.
Yeah, it's such a wild mechanism.
It's fantastic. But we all, what's interesting as I watch it is realizing how relatable it is, because we all do that. We all have coping mechanisms. Our brains have figured out ways of dealing with things. And this is just another way that happens to her. You know what I mean? Like, it makes sense to me.
But can you imagine, being in a situation where all of a sudden you snap awake or whatever, and you're like, what happened? Where did I go? What was happening? Well, because another personality had come out, and
so that's what's great about the show, is that it's more realistic. So most of the time when she calls them parts, when another part wants to take over. So she has younger parts. She has like I think she's 7 or 8, and then she has a 10-year-old, and she has a 17-year-old, which she's kind of a little bit, she goes out partying all the time. She has older parts in their 20s, but when one wants to take over, or when she wants one to take over, she knows how to kind of trigger them. So like she was even saying in this last episode, she cannot handle stress, and something was stressing her out. And so she needed someone to come in and take over. That's the whole point of this, right? Is that as a child, the abuse that she endured, she doesn't want to have to deal with. And honestly, if you go back and watch Split or Glass, that's especially in Glass, they really do a great job of it. That's the point. You really see his trauma and abuse that he has as a child, and they constantly are saying, Kevin doesn't want to come out here. He's not, and Jane lives most of her life with her. As her, her personalities actually didn't come out until her 20s. She always heard voices in her head, but they never actually came out until later on. And, but so she usually can remember with most of the other parts when they're in front. She can usually know when she comes back, she knows what happened. There's only a couple personalities that she has complete amnesia with, that she does not remember anything. And she knows that. And they will help take care of her kids, though. Like, they're all on the same path as far as, making sure the kids are safe. They're all there to protect Jane. So, you also have to always keep that in mind. They're not there to really...
So none of them are overly destructive.
No, and that's kind of what she's always talking about is, how the movies make it seem like it's always dangerous. And no, but destructive, like the 17-year-old went to Target and spent $80 and she's like, I'm a single parent. I can't afford this. That's as destructive as like it's going to kind of get, you know. But she also has, it's really hard for her to date anyone because the younger parts are really afraid of men. And she has another personality that's a lesbian, so she doesn't want any part of it. So it's really hard for her to date anyone. She actually got a job at a bar. And after the first day, she actually quit because the younger parts were so scared because her trauma is related to men drinking and all of that. So the younger parts were freaking out that she couldn't be around these men. It's just very fascinating to watch. And I think it really would help people to understand. And here's the other thing. She has a horrible mother. So her mother, in the beginning, we kind of saw her mother being interviewed and was just kind of like, well, she says she has this thing, but I've never witnessed it. Like, her mother is completely trying to pass it by and say this isn't going on. Right. Then, Jane is not telling us about the abuse, like not getting into details. It's just, we do see her in therapy sessions, and her therapist has talked about, how severe it was. But finally, so she doesn't really have a relationship with her mom, not a very good one. Mm-hmm. And so her mom wanted to meet up at one point, and she was, worrying about that. And she was telling the therapist that her mom walked in on her getting abused once and ignored it and never did anything about it. And so then they were in like this interview with the mother, and the producers are like, did you know about the abuse? And the mother was hemming and hawing and, well, I know about one instance that I saw, but I didn't see anything else, and it was just like, I wanted to reach through the television and just beat the crap out of this woman, because it just makes me so angry that this poor girl, did not have that. Mm-hmm. And that, it just, it explains why, again, she had to create all of these personalities in order to cope, because she had no soft place to land. It's really, there's just a lot of interesting, it's just one of those. So anyway, it's on A&E. I actually don't know when. It's after the Leah Remini show. I think it's Tuesdays or something, but it's totally worth watching. It's very fascinating, but I think it's something that everyone can learn, obviously, because you won't be an idiot when you go and meet someone who might have DID, but also it might help you, understand your little quirks that maybe is something that you have developed because you were covering up with something or just dealing with something or whatever.
So that's what I was thinking while you were talking about this. Is this something that everybody has to a certain degree? It's just that some people, it becomes a big thing or an actual over the edge of becoming a personality.
No, what I'm talking about is like, like I have OCD, and I think there were control issues with that. It's just a different, all I was saying is that I think everyone comes up with little things that maybe they do, and maybe not everyone, maybe I'm just in that boat, but I'm just saying that, everyone has something that maybe they can look back and go, oh, you know what? That kind of started when that was starting. And mm-hmm. maybe that's why that happened, mm-hmm. and that sort of thing. And, and it doesn't mean your brain split up into parts to cover up. It's just there are other coping mechanisms that we all have. Some people bite their nails. That's them, dealing with maybe a stressful situation that they're in. And that's something they've carried on all their life. That's all I'm saying is there's something that makes you feel comfortable in the moment. And for her, it was so severe that her brain had to divide up and really protect her and say, nope, you don't want to deal with this. I'll take it on for you. And like her 10-year-old part is the one who kind of took everything on and still deals with all of that. And so when she comes out, it's really sad and heartbreaking. She's just, you can tell immediately, like she gets under a blanket and she whispers, and she's just you can tell she's very strong, but also she's 10, you know?
Yeah. So I think, I did see a snippet of a documentary on this thing, and kind of what you're saying is, because when you hear about somebody doing that, the instant reaction for most people is, oh, they're just putting it on.
Right.
And it's really important to understand that, those people are not putting that on. It's an actual personality trait of something that's going on in their mind. It's not a 28-year-old woman pretending to be scared and cowering under a blanket. It's an actual kind of manifestation of a personality that's come out that's natural for.
Right. I mean, they're all completely separate. Like she can draw each part.
Yeah.
They all look different. They act different. They have different talents. Many different parts can write left-handed versus the others right-handed. Some can speak languages that the main part can't. Like it's all very
the human brain, man.
Right.
It's just
exactly.
amazing.
It really is. And that's all I'm kind of saying is, one is DID is fascinating. I really think people should learn about it because it is portrayed in a weird way in Hollywood. But also it does kind of open up that whole thing of just our brains and how they kind of help us work with whatever. Like you have ADD, your brain works differently than mine does. And it doesn't mean anything worse or better or anything. It's just yours is wired differently.
It's not better.
So, it's just, I think all of this stuff is fascinating. And so I just wanted to kind of share and let people know. And I'm so, it's truly commendable that Jane is willing to go through this with us. Cause she's in her process. She's just wanting to have a life where she might find someone that's a partner for her. And she wants to get a job that might work. And in order to do that, she's just trying to get all of her parts kind of working better and dealing with things. So that's kind of the point of the show.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's that. And then I just want to say Walking Dead is coming back tomorrow night for the second half of the 9th season. I watched this premiere last week because on AMC Premiere you could watch this first episode already. So while other people were watching grown men beat each other up, I was watching grown men kill zombies. Anyway, I just want to tell you guys, like, this first episode tomorrow night is so good and it's so intense. And the Whisperers are the scariest villain. Like, this show, everyone, people who don't watch are always like, oh, it's scary because of zombies. It's never been a scary show until these Whisperers showed up in the last couple episodes. And, well, that last episode was, I remember I made you watch the episode, that scene in the last scene. So we start out this episode right there again. We're in the cemetery and Jesus has just been killed. Spoiler alert. And so we start right there where we left off. But man, these Whisperers, it is scary. That is for sure. They are scary.
Yeah. So, I watch a lot of History Channel.
Yeah.
And right now there's a promo on for it running on the History Channel. Have you seen it?
Yeah. With the skin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
so the Whisperers wear zombie skin masks.
Yeah. And then it opens its eyes and it's obviously
alive.
A person.
Right.
Oh, it's the creepiest shit.
Yeah.
Man. That is, I really still don't have a desire to watch the show, but I was like, oh man.
Oh, it's this. I'm so for it. And it's so good. And of course we just learned that Denai Guerrero is going to leave in the 10th season. That's going to be devastating, really devastating, but I don't blame her. She's awesome. So, but I just want everyone to know, check out this first episode tomorrow night. It's so good. And I'm so looking forward to the rest of the season. So that's that.
Okay.
So now we're going to get into our, I don't even know what to call it, rom-com corner. Rom-com con. So if anyone watched Happy Endings, they always they went to the rom-com con every year. And anyway, there was a whole scene where they were just like, they went off on that rom-com con. Anyway, okay.
Well, thank you for that.
So what I had to do is I kind of looked up top 100 romantic comedies. And I went through like 3 or 4 lists of those, and I just wrote basically a half a page. I just wrote down all the movies that I wanted to try and include in here, so I could.
I basically did the same thing. I went through several lists of top 100 or whatever.
Yeah, and some of mine weren't on those lists, so I had to do that separately.
Oh, see, my memory is so crappy that if it wasn't on that list, I don't. It's not on here.
Yeah. So we said before going into this, we said we were going to limit it to 3 per category.
I did good except for 1.
Okay. So, rom-com you love.
All right, my top 3. Mm-hmm. This is me personally.
I know.
So
who else would it be?
So there's this guy.
Oh, you're speaking first. Okay.
So there's this guy. No, I mean, and these aren't necessarily the best movies, but these are they're my favorites. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, movies you love. That's what it is.
Oh,
that's what that means.
I got to talk to that guy.
There's the ADD.
Okay. Want to ride my bike?
Okay.
So,
squirrel.
Notting Hill.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Well, that's one of your top movies of all time.
It really is.
Yeah.
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 When Harry Met Sally.
Yes.
Because that to me is kind of like, not the original rom-com, obviously, but like the modern day.
Well, back then it was, in 89.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then The Wedding Singer.
Yeah, I need to have that on.
Yeah, those are my top 3.
Well, those are all fantastic. I mean, hello. They're all great.
Yep.
Okay, so mine, again, one of my top movies of all time, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Now, it's not necessarily a comedy, but it was on those lists. So I was like, well, I'm going to take it because it is a romantic film, and everyone knows I love that movie more than anything in the world.
Some days I don't know how we're together because I that one just got bumped out for one of the other categories.
For movies you hate?
Yep.
I don't think you've ever actually seen it.
I did. You made me watch it.
Well, then you need to watch it again.
I don't think so.
Because it's just the best ever in the world.
No.
Okay, then of course I have When Harry Met Sally. And for me, it's not an original for sure. I mean, there's 50 years before that of romantic comedies. But I think for me as a kid, it was probably one of those first and biggest and best. And it's still a classic, and I still watch it many times during the year. And there's just something about that friendship, right? Versus most romantic comedies, we've talked about this, is, oh, I'm engaged to this guy, and then I meet this guy, and oh, I think I like him better. And we're urging this person to cheat or to dump the person.
Yep.
And this, When Harry Met Sally, it's this friendship. And we watch them over 10 or 11 years develop this friendship. And we know they're great for each other. And it's just, it's lovely to watch that.
Yeah.
That friendship
A lot
develop.
of rom-coms, they're going to end up together.
Right.
It's a formula. I remember watching this for the first time. It's like, I'm not sure they're going to end up together.
Right. But they'll be best friends.
Right.
And
They'll
that's
always be in
important
each other's
a
life,
relationship.
but okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my third one is what I consider the modern or kind of newer take on When Harry Met Sally, was A Lot Like Love with Ashton Kutcher and Amanda Peet.
Damn, I didn't get that on here.
Yeah, because it's not on any lists, and you people are sleeping on this if you haven't seen it. But it is the same thing. They meet up, year, and then 2 or 3 years later, and then another 2 or 3 years later, and they're friends. They think they might work out, but their lives aren't ready. He doesn't have his ducks in a row. And it's just I just love it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. God, I forgot all about that movie. Damn, that is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, towards the end when she shows up at the wedding.
At the wedding,
oh
yeah.
God,
You think he's getting married.
Yeah, it's just the best.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. But when they're in the car with all their junk food and they're singing and I mean, it's all good. It's all good.
Yep.
Okay, so those were movies we love. Rom-coms you like.
All right, so these are, it's really like 1A, 1B, but Love Actually.
Yes, of course.
Sleepless in Seattle.
Yes.
And The Holiday.
See, and I forgot completely about The Holiday because that wasn't on any list. And then when we were setting up, I was like, oh, I forgot about The Holiday. Yeah. I don't think it would have made my list, though. Just because there's a million. I mean, look, there's too many. There's just too many.
Oh,
but
see, I
do love it more than anything.
See, I think these 4 are perfect for this movie.
Yes, they are. And it's a wonderful movie. I love it. Sleepless in Seattle, same thing where, again, it's you want Meg Ryan to dump Bill Pullman and, get with the guy she's never met before. But, the point of these movies are you want real love, right? They're with the wrong person.
I'm telling you, Tom Hanks in the 90s, you couldn't go wrong with him.
No, not at all.
You can't go wrong with him nowadays, just maybe not a rom-com.
Right. Okay, so ones I like, which it's not, there's no levels. I love all of these.
Yeah.
So, again, one of my favorite top 5 movies ever, Sense and Sensibility. It's kind of a comedy, but
yeah.
I'm just kind of going with romance.
It's a British movie, so we'll throw it in the comedy.
Yeah. Same with Pride and Prejudice. I had to put them on
here. Oh my
here.
God.
I
what?
know.
Really?
That's
not a...
I watch these weekly.
But they're not... I mean, they got some funny...
I know. I don't know that they qualify, but...
I'm pretty close to rejecting these.
Okay.
Move on.
Third one, While You Were Sleeping. It's a movie. I used to watch this movie back when VHS was... I put it on every night and would go to bed to it. Like, I was obsessed with this movie.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why. But again, this one isn't so much about dumping Peter, who's in a coma. She doesn't even know him. They're not really together. But when her and Bill Pullman just start that friendship and start enjoying each other.
Falling for each other.
Oh, love it. And Chicago's just so gorgeous in it.
See, Bill Pullman comes back from Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's hysterical in that, though.
I know.
Okay. Rom-coms you hate.
So it was going to be Eternal Spotless Mind thing.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
That's it.
Best movie ever.
Yeah. But it was displaced by The Breakup.
Ugh, you suck.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I clearly don't.
That movie is fantastic.
Oh, come on.
It's hysterical.
Okay, so first of all, it's not hysterical.
You know why you get annoyed by it? Because it's you. Because in those first moments when she comes in and she says, "Are you going to help me with the table?" And he's like, "Oh, I just had a hard day and I'm playing this game. I just got to play this game." And she's like, "What are these lemons? I wanted 9 lemons. Oh, you got 3 lemons. What my baby wants, my baby gets." And she's like, "I wanted 9 lemons. Baby wanted 9 lemons." That's you, because that's all men. And that's why it annoys you so much, because you all want to sit there and play your stupid game while she has cooked and set the table and the family's coming over. And that's why it annoys you.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. No. It annoys me because they spend a lot of the movie taking turns trying to hurt each other. And I don't need to see that. I don't want to see that. That's not entertaining to me. I watch movies. This should be well documented at this point. I watch movies to be entertained. And generally entertaining is upbeat and that sort of thing. I'm okay with some negative storylines if they're, I don't know. There's a way to do it where it's entertaining, and to me this just wasn't.
Okay, first off, it's called The Breakup, so it's going to be about breaking up, which is not a good
I didn't
thing.
want to watch the movie. You made me watch it.
Okay, we're getting over it. Okay, movie I hate, As Good as It Gets.
Really?
Oh, I don't like Helen Hunt. Love Greg Kinnear in it. Here's the thing. What's his face who did this movie? Oh, crap. What was his name? He doesn't do women well in movies. It always annoys me. He also did, was it Spanglish? I don't like her character in it. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. Oh, what is his name that did the movie? Brooks.
Oh
my gosh. Now I have to look it up. Text amongst yourselves.
Michael Brooks? No.
Nope.
No, not Hal. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I can picture him.
James L. Brooks. Yeah. I don't like the way movies are, or women are portrayed in his movies. It's just, it annoys me. So anyway.
See, you brought up another one, Spanglish, which isn't on my list anywhere because it's not.
I don't like that movie either.
Yeah, I know, but that's because they did Téa Leoni is such a monster, but
right, exactly.
Yeah, and she's good at it.
No.
Wow.
Whatchamacallit, the Jim Carrey one. She's good in that.
Dick and Jane?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a,
Bit of a pickle
that's
dick.
a good one too.
That's not a rom-com.
That's not?
They're married. Okay, so rom-coms you secretly love.
All right, so this is where I have 4. And these are all over the place. And I'm going to start out with a very, very recent one, Crazy Rich Asians.
Yes, that's on my list too.
Yeah,
And it's not that I secretly love it. I've told everyone it's my favorite, and it's just new.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I had to put my classics up top and then put this one here just because. But it's the best rom-com ever made.
The rest of mine are there's a lot of classics.
Okay.
So we'll get to them.
Okay.
Another one I secretly love, The Proposal.
Yes.
And yeah, you're right. There's no secret. If you ask me if I love
Right.
it, I'll tell you I do.
Yes. There's nothing wrong with that movie. The best scene in The Proposal is when Sandra Bullock is in with her bosses and they're saying you're going to be deported, and Ryan Reynolds comes in and she says, we're getting engaged. If you haven't seen the movie in a while, go back to see that scene and only watch Ryan Reynolds.
He does
the genius of him standing there with this look on his face, and he can't say a word, and he's like,
trying to process and
I mean, it's absolute perfection.
Yep. He's. I don't think he's underrated.
No, he's Deadpool.
But no, I mean, as far as romantic comedies go.
Oh.
He may be, but he's fantastic
Yes.
in a romantic comedy.
Yes, for sure.
Here's a blast from the past, Bringing Up Baby.
I've never seen it.
So I have.
It's the one with the tiger, right? Baby is the tiger.
It's a leopard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah. I've heard it's hysterical.
It's really funny, and it's really good.
Yeah.
It's one of the few old movies I actually remember. So yeah.
Okay.
And Must Love Dogs.
Aww.
Yeah.
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 That's a good one.
I think so.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And that's what I started doing in this category, and I should have done the whole, but following up with that, any John Cusack, starting with Say Anything, Better Off Dead, these are all rom-coms, Sure Thing. Serendipity.
Yeah.
You can put him in any of these rom-coms. They're all good.
Yeah.
They're all top shelf.
And it's
High Fidelity.
It's so disappointing that he's kind of gone away.
I know, he's become a Nick Cage type.
Yeah, and that's so disappointing because for a while he was just money.
He is. He was.
Well, he was.
Yeah. Okay, so here's what I did here. I started out with Crazy Rich Asians, for sure. Then I started to realize any Drew Barrymore, like actually before this, I just put on Going the Distance with her and Justin Long.
Yep.
And so I was like, she's also, she's got a ton of them. Fever Pitch, and then I was like, but then there's any Hugh Grant movie.
Yes.
Notting Hill and About a Boy and Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Music and lyrics.
So I put it together and I chose music and lyrics.
I never thought of it. Son of a gun. See, there's too many.
There's too many.
Because music and lyrics is awesome.
Yes. So I'm using music and lyrics to represent both of them because any of theirs are good. 9 Months with Hugh Grant, and I said Four Weddings and
Sandra Bullock, yeah. The 2 weeks notice.
Oh yeah, 2 weeks notice. So anything with Hugh, anything with Drew, put them together, music and lyrics, it's perfection.
Well, and Hugh Grant is probably, right there with Tom Hanks, is my favorite actor of all time.
Right.
I
know that.
Everything I just love him.
Yeah.
He's perfect.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a dry delivery better than Hugh Grant.
Right. For sure.
Well done. Done to you.
Thank you.
That's
thank you.
Well played,
Imaginary
miss.
hat. Okay. So, and then my third one is another representation of Gary Marshall, because any of his movies, you can do Pretty Woman and Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, all those that you can go with. My favorite of his is Runaway Bride, so I'm putting that on here. But it truly represents all of Gary Marshall's R.I.P., all of his movies that I love. He does a rom-com in such a wonderful way. Yeah. And I know people didn't like Runaway Bride. To me, it's a great.
But here's why: there was such a gap between Pretty Woman and Runaway Bride, and it built up everybody for I don't know how long the period that was. It was 10 or 15 years, right? Everybody built up this pressure on the next time that Richard Gere and Julia Roberts were going to do a movie, And it was good. If it had been the first movie they did together,
Yeah.
it would have been good.
Right.
But it just didn't live up to...
But it does if you go back. I understand that, yeah. But if you go back and just watch it on, standalone without those expectations,
Sure.
it's almost the most stereotypical Gary Marshall movie with all of his little quirks and things, you know. And I've talked about it on here before, but the puns of, Joan Cusack's hair salon is called Curl Up and Die. Her name is Peggy Fleming. Her husband's name, Fleming, his radio show is Wake Up with Flem. It's those things that you grow to love out of his movies, but you also get the love. And what I liked about this too was Richard Gere and Julia Roberts' characters were very good together, and we got to see that versus, a hooker who's like being paid, and you know what I mean? Like, I love Pretty Woman, trust me, but it's, I like everyone in Runaway Bride, and they all do a great job, and it's very sweet. And I miss Gary Marshall. I'll miss all those movies, but especially I just watched Valentine's Day this week, and of course they're playing it on a loop, and it's one of those that it's like a Love Actually, where there's just so many people and so many different stories of love. It's great.
He did a bunch of those, so it's kind of interesting that the Gary Marshall kind of amalgamation that you picked was Runaway Bride, because that's probably the smallest cast.
Yeah, because it's my favorite, personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
I love Valentine's Day. I love New Year's Eve. He also did Mother's Day, which was very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not a rom-com. Well, it kind of is, but not. The Other Sister is probably my second favorite.
Is that with Toni Collette?
No, it's Juliette Lewis. She plays the disabled.
Yeah.
And Diane Keaton is the mother, and
what am I thinking of?
I don't know.
Cameron Diaz and okay. We'll
so,
figure it out afterwards.
Anyway, so that was so that's how I figured that one out. Now next, embarrassed you haven't seen.
Oh boy, so with me, obviously this list can be really really long because there's more that I haven't than I have, but I narrowed it down to 3. My best friend's wedding.
Yes, I'm embarrassed you haven't seen that either.
Yeah, because you're always talking about it. Yes.
It's a classic.
It is. Yes.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I'm duly embarrassed. I guess I didn't. So I haven't seen this movie, so I don't know exactly what it is, but it's on all the lists as one of the best ones ever. Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's a romantic comedy.
I don't consider that a romantic comedy.
Okay.
I was shocked to see that on there. That one and Bridesmaids. Why is Bridesmaids on there? I don't get that, but whatever. I guess Pride and Prejudice shouldn't be on mine either, so I guess we're all playing kind of fast and loose. Yeah, you don't get to say anything because fast and loose. Yeah, fast and loose are the rules of a podcast. Yeah.
Okay, well, so regardless whether it is a comedy or not, I'm embarrassed I haven't seen it because it's a classic.
Right.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. It's good.
And then Annie Hall.
Yeah, Annie Hall's on my list too.
Okay.
And I'm okay with it.
You haven't seen it?
Nope.
But you're not embarrassed.
It's on my list. I am embarrassed I haven't seen it, but I have no desire to go and watch it now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my second one is Moonstruck. Never saw it.
Really?
I think I may have seen parts of it. I mean, I know enough about it.
I've seen parts of it.
I've never sat and watched it. And that one I wouldn't mind going back and seeing.
Isn't that the one where Cher yells at Nicolas Cage, snap out of it? Yeah, okay. I've seen that part.
Yeah, well, that's because she won the Oscar for it. So.
Oh.
Okay, and rom-com you're adding to your watch list.
Again, narrowed it down to 3.
Okay.
That's a lot. It's definitely more than these three, but The Philadelphia Story.
That's mine.
Really?
Yeah, because it was number 1 on one of those lists.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my uncle's favorites.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, and Fred McMurray? No. Somebody else. Anyway, Punch Drunk Love.
You won't like it.
Then I'm taking it off my list.
It was good, but you won't like it.
Why won't I like it?
It's deep.
Oh yeah, forget it. Nope. Yep, successfully off the list. And then The Apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Jack Lemmon and
Hey, Parent Trap didn't make your list.
Oh shit! I forgot about it.
Yeah, I just thought of it. Something you said made me think of
Oh man, and so yeah, Natasha
it. Richardson.
Richardson and Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, so not the original Parent Trap, everybody.
No.
The remake.
And the original's okay. Maureen O'Hara and Dennis, no, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, yeah, the remake with Natasha Richardson and Dennis Quaid is actually one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I know.
And it has
I
zero
will walk in and he will be sitting there
Zero-
watching the Parent
and it
Trap.
has zero to do with Lindsay
Lindsay
Lohan.
Lohan.
No, it has zero to do with her, and she's cute and she's good in it. And that's probably, to me, it's probably her best performance. I mean, she peaked really early and she's still going, but
Yeah.
whatever. But just the chemistry between Dennis Quaid and Natasha Richardson is
Yeah.
great. And the supporting cast is really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's a good one. So mine was just a Philadelphia Story. I didn't have others, but I'm looking through my list of honorable mentions. So Desk Set made these lists, and that's one of my top movies of all time. So I was really excited about that. Love Simon, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, great one. My Big Fat Greek Wedding. You've got Mail,
Yes.
of course. I know.
Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. You're
Right, you're
You know,
gold.
yep.
13 Going on 30. Enchanted Wally was on one of the lists, so I thought I'd mention
really?
that. Yeah.
Wally.
Yeah, we just went to Disneyland After Dark this week, and it was Sweethearts Night.
Yep.
And so I had an Eve shirt, and he had a Wally shirt.
Eva.
The Big Sick, which came out last year, was really good. Four Weddings and a Funeral. Hitch, can't sleep on Hitch. You loved Hitch.
I did, but here's I won't get into it.
Princess Bride,
Yep.
classic.
Yep.
Some Like It Hot. Sabrina. I only like the remake of Sabrina, so Singing in the Rain. L.A. Story. I was trying to fit L.A. Story into one of these because that is one of my favorites of all time. Steve Martin. Love it. All the Bridget Jones. Anything like J-Lo has a lot.
Yes.
Oh,
Monster-in-Law.
Monster-in-Law. She has the one with Ray Fiennes.
The Wedding Planner.
The Maid or whatever it is.
Yeah, Maid
the
in
Wedding
Manhattan.
Planner. Yeah, she's got a bunch. Wedding Planner is a great one.
Backup Plan.
Backup Plan.
That was just on. We were just watching
Yeah.
it.
So she's got a bunch. You kind of
Yeah.
have to go with people. Crazy Stupid Love. We both love that
I
movie,
know.
and neither
I
one. I couldn't fit it in.
I couldn't fit it in either.
I know. I can't even read my writing. Definitely Maybe, which I finally got you to watch. The Ryan Reynolds one where he's telling his it's kind of like the How I Met Your Mother. Rachel
yeah.
Weisz. And,
Yeah.
Elizabeth Banks. I mean, what happens in Vegas. Again, Cameron Diaz. I can go on about her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, people, I watch the Oscar movies too, but if I'm going to sit and watch a movie day after day after day, it's usually going to be one of these. And
Right.
that's just the way it is. They're just, they can make you feel good.
Yep. And
So,
most of them are entertaining as heck.
and I will probably think of 20 more today that I'm
Sure.
like, oh, I didn't put that on there.
Yep.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. So
Good
anyway,
stuff.
Yeah,
Good
but
stuff.
lots of love to go around. There's plenty for people to watch this week and feel
Yep.
like, there's love around.
Happy
love in the air.
Valentine's Day.
Yes. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. I hope you have a great week, and we will be back next week.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Until then, I'll be watching my stories.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay,